All right, guys, so the next part is the literature review. Now, you're not actually going to do a lit review for this first assignment. You're going to do an annotated bibliography that I already put on from the last time. But we're going to go ahead and talk about a lit review because you're going to use that annotated bibliography to eventually do a lit review for your final assignment. So what a lit review basically does is it's a way of kind of finding, reading, and organizing the literature that surrounds your problem. So what you're trying to do is find out what's already been done, what's already known about the problem that you have picked. And so the reason we do it is we want to demonstrate that we're familiar with it. We know that we know about our subject. We want to know the theories, what already has been done, the concepts. And a lot of times a review of lit will help us kind of focus what we're doing for our research questions and help us determine, how past research can help us inform future research. It could help us develop a hypothesis, our educated guess of what we think is going to happen. It could help us look at different methods that people have used in the past to study, our topic. It can help us identify our variables. It can also allow us to be able to compare what we find with what other people have already done. So there are a ton of ways to find stuff for review of lit. The key to this, guys, is it has to be good research. So for your annotated bibliography, I ask you to find 10 scholarly peer-reviewed articles. What that means is those articles have been vetted. So we're not looking to go do Google searches to find articles. We're looking to go on to the library databases and find research from that, from government organizations, from other databases, stuff that's reliable, guys. So we're just vetting the source. Okay, we're looking at that it's relevant, that it's accurate, that it's quality work. So again, we have electronic databases that are available through every school website, but through the Reinhardt website, you can look at Google Scholar. It's not a bad place to look. You can also look, obviously, at scholarly books, textbooks. So that kind of leads into the idea of starting to write the lit review. And this I'm going to kind of gloss over pretty fast, and we'll come back to this as we lead into week 8. But we're going to introduce the problem that we're looking at, and we're going to highlight the need that there has to be more research. A real important deal is that people that are reading it understand what the problem is, and that they understand that there's a practical application for solving that problem. Then we're going to start kind of write the body of the literature review. We're going to present, the background information. We're going to emphasize, what methodologies they use, the variables they use, and we're going to highlight the findings. And then we're going to look for kind of common trends, and also where are the gaps in the literature. What did one researcher find that another researcher didn't find? And again, guys, I will go way more into depth in this as we get into week 8. But following doing our review of lit, we'll kind of state a research purpose and hypothesis, where we kind of what the overall research is and how the review of lit has justified us being able to do that. And so some things we want to think about as we're doing our lit review is the literature related to the research problem. And that's a broad, and that's something people struggle with, is that the literature you look at does not have to be 100% exactly what you're studying. So, for instance, let's say that I wanted to look at retention strategies for NAIA student athletes. Well, probably likely not going to find a lot on that. but you can likely find a lot about just retention strategies in general, or maybe retention strategies in Division I athletics, and those are fine. We want to make sure that we cover the most seminal studies. So, meaning the foundational, best stuff that's been done on our subject. And then past that, we want to do more recent stuff. To give you an idea how strict this can be, when I did my dissertation, 80% of our articles had to be within 5 years of the date we were doing it. So obviously, a lot of things have changed, so we want to stay relatively current. Some other things that we want it to be where it's logically organized, and usually the best way to do that is to organize it around themes or common issues. We want to make sure that we talk about where the gaps are. We want to make sure we have an introduction and a conclusion. We want to make sure that our review of lit leads right into our research questions and a rationale for those questions. And again, I will explain this in depth, guys, as you get ready to write this thing in week 8. So that concluded our talk about review of literature.